Hello and welcome to the Anna Aidoo Show. Once again, we're excited to bring you good stories, to bring you stories that lift you up, stories that make you feel like, yes, I can handle this, I can do this. We started this in June last year, and I have to tell you that it's been an amazing journey. It's been a beautiful journey, a journey of meeting people who never thought they could, but when they tried, they've been able to. Look at me. I'm happy to be here, to be sitting with two beautiful ladies, two very powerful ladies, two women who thought they could, and now they have. Two authors, Rosita Hall, who's a motivational speaker, an author, a mother, and an all-around tough lady. And Judy Oron. What can I say? This is the second time I'm having Judy on this show. She's an author, she's a speaker, and she's a tough lady, a journalist as well. The lesson I'm learning from these two people, and for every positive person that comes my way, is that we're all capable of something. We may not be doing the same thing, but we're all capable of something. We're all capable of making a difference somewhere. But if we don't, so many people will lose out on the good things that God has in store for us. And so I'm ready. I'm excited. We've been laughing, preparing for this show. And so now I'm going to introduce these two ladies to you, and get ready for conversations that will take you somewhere. That should always bring you back to the dream that's lying in your heart, to the hope that's within you that you're waiting and sitting on. Don't sit on it. So get ready. So, Rosita Hall, welcome to the Anna Show.
Thank you.
And Judy, welcome as well for the second time.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm not going to take the spotlight. I want you to please, Rosita, give us a bit about yourself and the journey that you're on, because I know it's a positive one.
Yes, Anna, it's always been a positive journey. I started at a very young age. I also come from a very large family. There's 14 of us. I have 8 brothers and 5 sisters. We also always had a house full of joy. And I think that's what we were always taught, that no matter what it is that you go through in life, that you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get going again. There was no room in our house for sadness.
Okay.
My mother said, joy's coming in. We don't bring sadness in. Sadness will sneak in on its own, so we don't need to open the door for sadness to come in.
And sit.
To come and sit. So we've always been joyful. Doesn't mean that we haven't had our ups and downs, because certainly that has existed. And I have to say that both my mother and father were very instrumental in my being able to do what I'm doing now. My father in particular, because he always said to me, Rosie, you got a lot of great energy. And you got to use that energy to elevate your life and to elevate the lives of other people.
Okay.
Because my father spent a lot of time in the school system, because the teachers had deemed me to be a problem child, and they had all kind of labels and things for me. But my father saw it another way. He said, this is just a very special child who happens to be gifted. And so my father always said, Rosie, use that energy. Don't use that energy to annoy people. Use that energy to elevate people and to bring people up and do good things with it. So my father really nurtured that and cared for that. And my whole life has always said, you're my special child, you're my special child. There's nothing wrong with you.
Wow.
You just have something. So one of the things when I was thinking about, just courage and that kind of thing today, I think one of the most courageous things that I had to do as a child, as a teenager, as a woman now, was to really embrace my authenticity. Because that's, when we talk about courage, I think the greatest power that you will ever have is the day that you're willing to embrace who you are, because we were all made very individually, and we were placed on this earth for a reason, and none of us are exactly the same. We will never be the same. And why in heaven's name would somebody want 2 of any of us? I mean, the reality is that we were created because we have a purpose.
Right.
And it's a joyful place when you realize what that purpose is for you, when you realize that I'm a very unique person, I'm very talented in my own right. And to be not afraid of that. And sometimes you can back away from that when people say, oh my God, I can't take that energy, or I can't take this, or I can't take that, or why are you so joyful? Turn your joy-o-meter down. I've been told that before.
I like
turn
that.
that down. That's too much.
Turn the joy-o-meter
Turn it down, because it's too much for people sometimes. And then I find myself sometimes where you take, and then I go, no, I'm not going to do that, because that's who I am. And you have to show up every day being who you are. And I think because I've showed up for life every day, being who I am at the core, no fake, what you see is what you get, I've created abundance and success for myself. And when I say
That
abundance and
is
success,
beautiful.
I don't count dollars, I count relationships. And so
Awesome.
I have built some incredible relationships. I have a husband who I adore, 2 sons who bring joy, amazing joy to me, 8 brothers who I love, 5 sisters who I adore, and an abundance of great friendships.
God.
And because of that, I sleep very well at night. And I don't count dollars, I count relationships. I always think that you need to leave your signature on the heart of every single person you come into contact with. So for me, if you walk in authentic truth, then it's easy to build great relationships with other people. Because if you feel good about yourself, you're open and you embrace other people.
She just floored me, you know.
I think we're done here today. That's pretty much it, no?
I like the fact that you talked about the fact that the school system saw you as a problem child, but your father saw something in you, and he found a way to let you know that you're not a problem child.
Yes.
Your father allowed you to understand that you're not a problem to the system, that you're who you are, but he channeled it. He helped you channel your energy the proper way.
Yes.
So I like that in the sense that he had the courage to sit his child down and say, listen to me. Don't listen to what everybody else is saying.
Yes.
What they're saying may be true, but they don't understand you. So the message I'm getting is that he allowed you to understand who you are, to be who you are, and as a result of that, you're very effective in society today. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. And I really encourage everyone to allow their children to be who they are. Because I do speaking, I get a lot of parents come to me afterwards, because I usually tell this long story of how the whole thing happened, and they'll come to me afterwards and say, thank you, because right now I'm dealing with issues in the school with my child, because my child is kind of hyper, my child's kind of this, and they're not allowing. And the other thing, Anna, which I didn't mention, because my father said, you walk in that door every day being who you are, I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class in terms of my marks, and stayed there in high school, middle school, elementary school, university, because my father said, there's nothing wrong with you. I want you just to show up every day being who you are. It doesn't matter what society thinks, because you don't have to cater to society. You have to cater to you, because every road that you will ever walk will lead back to you. Every road will lead back to you.
The reason why I picked up on that, on the parenting part of what you were saying, is that parents today, we have so much pressure on us. You know, your child is this, your child is that. And I serve on a school board.
Yes.
You know, and so I often get the opportunity as chair of the school board. So I often get the opportunity to stand in front of parents and speak to them about their children. Yes. And I want to say here that parents that are watching us, pay attention to what your child is. I find that a lot of times we want our children to be, you know, doctor, lawyer, accountant, this and that. And sometimes our child is just not cut out for that. They have their own journey. So it's up to us parents to guide that kid some way, somehow. And as we steer them properly, we instill courage in them. And today's whole thing is about finding one's own courage. And it's so important that we each find our own courage, so that as life's troubles come and go, we don't fade away, but rather we stand. So thank you. I know we have more coming. So I'm going to turn to Judy.
Right.
Your turn. Tell us, this journey of yours, Cry of the Giraffe, has taken on a life of its own since the last time you were here. So can you please give us a bit more about the journey the book has taken?
Well, okay. So we're talking about a story relating to a young child who was separated violently from her parents in Sudan, forced to walk back to Ethiopia, where she then becomes a slave. And for a period of 4 years, she's on her own, fending for herself. And until, I won't go into the story, but until I became aware of her situation, went to Ethiopia, found her, paid for her, and brought her back and brought her into my family. And as I told you before, the camera started rolling. After that, she was part of our family, but it was up to her to find herself, to recuperate, to attempt to recuperate from some of the horrors that she'd been through, and to go on with her life. And I have to report that she's really doing beautifully.
Awesome.
When I first wrote the book, it was at her request. And being a hysterical Jewish mother, I was terrified. We had kept the story a secret for 17 years. And I'm very emotional today because we really just very recently celebrated 20 years since the day that I found her.
Oh, wow. Today?
So, yeah. No. Just the end of last month. Yeah.
Okay.
It was 20 years. It's hard to believe. But after 17 years, she decided she wanted her story told. After all of us had been very busy in the family keeping it quiet. Because, of course, it was not a pleasant story. And we couldn't understand why she wanted her story told. She explained her motivations to us. Some of it had to do with her wanting to sort of pay back, to tell a feel-good story about Israel at a time when Israel is often attacked, and to talk about the commandos who rescued her community, thousands and thousands of them, and the very large Black Ethiopian Jewish community that is living in Israel today. So she wanted people to know about their courage. Perhaps she wanted us to know, too, what a hard time she had had.
Right.
So when I first started writing the book, I was very much involved in her motivations.
Right.
I was there to write her story in her voice, which, as I began to write it, I realized I was writing the diary of a slave. And I was very confused. I remember at the beginning, I couldn't even use the word slave. I spent hours looking through my dictionary and my thesaurus trying to find another word for the word slave. Because when you love someone, you don't want to attach a word that ugly to them.
Right.
Right? And I tried child bondage and you name it. I won't go through all the list of names that I tried. And eventually, as she began to tell me her story for the purpose of writing, I realized, no, this is modern day slavery. This is classic debt bondage and child slavery. And I began to realize that it's endemic in certain parts of the world today. And especially last year, I remember there was a headline that Secretary of State Clinton, when she was giving a report about human slavery, trafficking and human slavery, she said there are 27 million slaves in the world today. My first thought was, well, I know one who's not on that list anymore, and that's great. You know.
And that's courageous.
But then
right
I
there.
started thinking about it and realizing, okay, so I've told a story that is in some ways an Ethiopian story and an Israeli story, the airlifts, the operations, the rescue of a community, of a Black community. But at the same time, what about all the other children left behind?
Right.
What about all the other children in the Horn of Africa, particularly Ethiopia, but not only, who are today being worked from before sunup until after sundown without a penny and with barely enough food to eat until they die.
Until they die.
And so I started to realize that although this book may eventually become fish wrap, you know, yesterday's news,
Right.
Perhaps the story has to go out there.
To touch
Even when
somebody.
the book is no longer has a life,
Right.
a PR life, shall we say.
Right.
And so I started to include material about child bondage and child slavery in the talks that I've been giving. And that sparked an incredible response among all sorts of audiences. So recently, I mean, everything from book clubs to organizations to recently a UN affiliate. And next month I've been given the opportunity to speak at Library of Congress in Washington on the subject of child slavery. Yeah.
Wow. And so as you go through all this, as from the time you were writing the book, or let's go back to the time where you were able to come in contact with the girl, go through all the difficulties that you had to go through to rescue her. And when we come back, I would like you to talk about what that has brought out of you. As to today we're talking about courage. Where did you get the courage to do those things that you know were fearful, but you did anyway? And so, ladies and gentlemen, as we said, this is about finding one's own courage. So as you listen to the three of us talk, we hope that you go deep within. Yes, these two ladies have written books, and in their speaking engagements and meeting people and going back and forth, their courage keeps coming up every day so that they can go higher and they can do better. Not to amass wealth, even though who doesn't want to have money, but to make a difference. We hope that in your own way, we're all not going to write books, but we're all going to be able to make a difference somewhere, in our homes, in our schools, in our churches, and then in our world. Thank you, and we'll be right back. Thank you and welcome back. You know, every time we pause a little bit to go on commercial, we get laughing with us here telling funny stories. So here's what I want to do. I want this to become my life because you meet good people, you meet people with funny stories. And so I'm counting on you out there to join me in making this such a beautiful thing that we look forward to coming to the Anna Aidoo Show, to hear good stories, to laugh a little, to arm ourselves with the good things in life so that we can go on and wipe out all the negative stories in the world. Today we're talking about finding one's own courage. How do we find the courage in our own little corner when nobody's watching, when we're afraid, to get out of all the hurt and then to come out and stand out and be who we are? How do we find that courage? So as I said to you before, Rosita Hall is an author, and I'm just looking in her book. The title of her book is I Found the Answer. And wouldn't that be nice if we could all find the answer? We talked about being ourselves before and how her father guided her into becoming herself. Same with me. My father still will tell you to not even try to come to him with negative stories. He will tell you to find it within yourself. And I'm looking at a quote here in Rosita's book. It says, I can never hide from myself. Wherever I go, there I am. This is why self-awareness is a critical component in the building and maintenance of our internal havens. Wow, Rosita. So where do you get, how do these quotes come up for you to put so that it means so much? Like when you read it and you actually think about it, you feel like you have to go within yourself and fortify everything within you. How do you come up with these things? How do these things happen?
I stay on a constant self-awareness journey because even though I think it's important to stand on a foundation of authenticity, it's also important to ask yourself very important questions every single day. Surround yourself with very good people that are going to lift you up and elevate you, but are also going to hold you accountable.
Right.
And I was blessed to surround myself with some incredible mentors in my life. And one of them happened to be a woman from McMaster University,
Okay.
Dr. Jean Jones. And one of the things that she said to me every day is at the end of your work day, because my background is I'm a social worker too, at the end of the day, I want you to go home after you've worked with your clients and walk in and make sure you strategically place a mirror in your hallway and ask yourself 3 questions. And this happened like many years ago, like when I initially got out of university and got my first job. And I still, to this day, have a mirror placed in my hallway because she said, I want you to make sure that as soon as you walk in the door, the first face you see is just you. Nobody else is there, just you. And I want you to be very honest with yourself because you can't fool yourself, and ask yourself 3 important questions. And to this day, I still ask myself this question, you know, many, many years later. And the 3 questions are, number 1, how's your health? Number 2, did I make a difference? And number 3, what was the impact? And so every single day at the end of the day, I still go home and I ask myself those 3 questions. Okay, so you've been out there doing all this stuff. How's your health? Because if you're not taking care of that, then nothing else. You know, then what? This is a temple that you're supposed to be taking care of. And number 2, did you make a difference? Were you just sort of out there? But did you make a difference? And if you did, exactly what was the impact? Like, what was that impact?
Right.
And for me, that always takes me on a journey of self-awareness and going inside myself and saying, okay, how did I respond today? You know, even today I'll go home and say, how did I do with Anna? Like, did I bring love to her? Did I bring joy to her? Did I do something to elevate Anna's life or Judy's life? What did I do today? And if I didn't, what now do I have to do to work on myself? It's never about other people. It's about what do I need to do? You know, it's around, I say all the roads lead back to yourself. Like, what's it in me that I felt a need to devalue someone or make someone not feel good about themselves? If that happens, then I need to question that and ask myself. So I go on a self-awareness journey on a daily basis because I think it's good to go inside yourself. Remember what you're made of. Don't ever let anything plug that joy that you have. And then let your light shine. And your light can't shine if there's too much darkness. And we're all human beings, and there's ways that sometimes that darkness can seep through, you know? And so you have to be constantly aware of that, So for me, in terms of, you know, where do you get those quotes from and where do you come up with this? It's just this inner knowing. It's the inner knowing that you have, and it's there, and you have to be courageous with it, because you will sometimes have a tendency to say to yourself, this can't be. Why did I get blessed this way? Why do I have this inner wisdom? Why? And you know what? It's not just me. Everybody has it, except some people haven't tapped into it yet. Some people don't realize it's there. Some people don't think they're deserving of it, but we're all deserving of it. You know, you have one life and you get to live it out loud, and we don't have to come in with a roar, but we don't have to come in with a whisper either. But we have a voice, and I think in terms of courage, you have to be courageous enough to let your voice be heard and to let your light shine. To be humble, but not so much that you start to squash that authenticity again. But if you're not living a full life, to me, in my head, I can't get my head around why someone would not want to do that. Because it just brings you such joy when you're connected to your authentic self, because that's the power that you have.
And it's not just you that it brings a joy to.
It's other people.
It's other people. You know, it's other people, and sometimes you can't explain.
No, you can't.
You know, at the end of the day, you're like, wow. I like how you said, okay, so I made a difference. I'll tell you how you made a difference to me today. You were talking about how you're so joyful, and sometimes you feel like you have to bring your joyometer down. Sometimes I feel that way. Because sometimes I feel like I'm overwhelming people around me. Sometimes I feel like I'm annoying people around me. And so sometimes I just want to, you know, take a step back. But you just assured me that it's okay to be that way, because that's you. And, you know, you talked also about your husband. My husband is kind of quiet, and I'm always the one going. At times when I'm quiet, he'll go, "Are you okay?" And I'm trying to be like, he goes, "Are you sure?" Is that making you happy?
It's very true, because I have a husband probably like your husband, because my husband's the complete opposite. He's rather quiet, and so when people meet us, they think that he's going to be as rambunctious as I am, and he's not, and they get disappointed. Like they go, "What?" But my husband always says, "Trust me, we can't have two of us in the house. We only need one of us in the house." But it's true. But you know, I think there's a nice balance. Isn't there a nice balance? But
there's a nice balance, and so
having met your husband only briefly, I'm sure he probably has some of those same qualities that my husband, in that he allows you to be who you are, and that's really important when you have someone that you care about and love, and they say, "You know what? Be who you are. Just embrace who you are."
It's so important. We were coming this afternoon, and it was ready, and he's traveling, so I said to him, "Let's go, my partner that's going away from me to Africa." You know, it's little things. It's little things. So that is how you have made a difference for me this afternoon. So when you walk through your door and you look in that mirror, know that you've assured me that it's okay to be the way I am.
Good for you. Don't stop being wonderful, Anna.
I don't have to bring down my joyometer.
No, and don't turn it down.
I can't. I try to, but Lord have mercy, sometimes.
Don't do that. It's like you know, it's like that dimmer. One of my friends said it's like someone's asking you to put the dimmer switch on. You know, instead of being the light, have the light shining. They're saying to you, "Excuse me, can you just put the dimmer switch on? Like bring it down." And it's okay. You should say to them, "You can put the dimmer switch down, go in another room. But in this room, there's light. So you get to choose which room you want to be in, right?"
Yes, it's so true. And you, Judy,
Sorry, Judy.
No. I'm having fun here, so that's okay. Just carry on.
You know, so you were talking about how you've had the opportunity to speak in book clubs and this and that, but you never thought it would all come to that when you wrote the book.
Right.
You may have hoped that it would come to that, but now, like you said, the book is being taught in Japan.
Right.
It's been translated into so many other languages. Wow. Now you get to speak where again? library?
It's being translated actually only into Hebrew, but it's been sold to the Indian subcontinent. Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
Indian
in
subcontinent.
English. Yeah.
Right,
They bought
and
the
it's
English
been
rights.
translated into Hebrew.
Right.
It's being taught in Japan, and you're going to speak at a library of...
Library of Congress in Washington, right.
Okay,
Right.
so in all of that, as you go along, has this increased your courage to keep because you made a statement about now your talking has translated to child slavery, right? So now it's not just about the book. In this book, you wrote about one girl.
Right.
But now it has morphed into talking about child slavery. So it's not just about one child anymore. How do you get the courage to, even though you started out, this is my daughter, I know my daughter's story, I know our family story. Where do you get the courage to now be able to stand and speak in front of so many people about this issue that is almost hush-hush? We all know it exists, but it's so heartbreaking and heart-wrenching that where do you get the courage to talk about it? Because not everybody is able to talk about the abuses that go on in their lives. Where do you get the courage to be a voice?
I don't know if I really see it as courage, although thank you for saying that. I think I've become a bit of a compulsive researcher. Obsessive compulsive. When I started, at first it was listening to my daughter's story, listening to her, I had taped her. I came back from Israel after I had taped her, listened to the story over and over and over again, trying to make sense of it, you know, because it really comes down to evil, which is not something that we tend to, or that I had met with very often. As the story kind of intensified in me, because I worked with it. It took me almost 2 years to write the book. And it was not because I write slow. It was because it was really hard to understand what had happened to her and what I had been through. It took me a long time to understand I had been in a classic slave trade. I know that sounds dumb, like maybe I'm a slow learner, but you know, I couldn't fathom it. I couldn't take it in. As that story really kind of set in to my heart, the first thing that happened is I began to understand so much more of what my daughter and I had been through in the years after I found her. And to understand more the cost to her and the ways in which she was fighting and what she was fighting. Because I didn't really know all of it before. I knew the headlines. I didn't know the nitty-gritty.
The inside of it.
Then I started researching, and I've been compulsively researching child slavery since then. And the more I do it, the more I feel this compulsion to tell the rest of the world. You know, I think people know, if you talk about, say, Thailand, then people know the sex trade and underage children, you know, and pedophilia and all that sort of thing. I'm not sure it's so clear what's happening in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is a country that's pretty remote, even today. And so I've been sort of filled with this awful compulsion. And it's certainly not the way I wanted to spend my old age. Kind of. But I've been sort of filled with this compulsion. This can't go on. You know, I'm kind of like I become this rabble. You talk about sometimes feeling like you're imposing on yourself on people. Right. I feel like I've become this rabble rouser, this obnoxious human being who goes around at everybody, you know, kind of.
But you know the beauty of it. I love that you feel like you've become a rebel in your old age.
I become an abolitionist in the 21st century. I mean, hello.
The beauty of it, though, is many people will go through their lives feeling like they didn't make any difference, feeling like they didn't make a dent. Isn't it nice to see that, as you're saying, in your old age, you're stepping into something that will impact lives. You know what I mean? Something that will not just... So that if you're called home today and we tell your story, if I happen to be there to tell your story, I know that if nothing at all, towards the end, you stood for so many unheard voices. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we're afraid of what is coming out of us. I used to be. I used to be afraid because I was like, is this normal? Is this okay? And of course, you'll always find people who will tell you it's not okay because they don't understand. You know what I mean? And you probably don't understand it, but there's something inside of you that is driving this thing, that is driving this thing. I tell you, my focus for a very long time has been on women. And as I was telling you at the beginning, I realized that my mom, having taken care of so many people, wasn't too happy, right? And so I thought, where did she find the courage to go on every day instilling positive messages into children that were around her? Today, when I look at all of us, I see that she made a very simple impact. But through her own struggle, she was able to deposit something in each one of us. And so, like I said before, this is all about finding one's own courage. So ladies and gentlemen out there, once again, find your own courage. Find your own courage to make a difference in your own lives. Sometimes that courage needs to be directed towards yourself. You know, we cannot go out there and be running all over the place. Sometimes it's just about you being courageous with yourself to come out of a darkness, to give up on sadness, to forgive yourself so that you can have the courage to breathe again. We'll be back, but in the meantime, I want you to research your own courage, and we'll see you when we come back in a few minutes. Thank you. Right, so here's another quote from Rosita. It is only when we choose to accept who we are with all of our strengths and our weaknesses, or when we choose to change those parts about ourselves that we feel uncomfortable with, that we will be able to truly love ourselves and others. You know, sometimes to even love yourself takes courage. Because sometimes maybe you've been through so much. Maybe you've done so much that you feel isn't right, and you feel like you're going to drown. But it takes courage to sometimes forgive yourself. It takes courage to walk up to somebody that you've hurt and say, I'm sorry. It takes courage to do anything that we want to succeed in. And so take the step today. If it's about yourself, take the step to encourage yourself. Encourage yourself to encourage yourself before you can go out there and encourage somebody. But I will tell you that for me, every day I get to encourage people. Sometimes, you know, I want to say a few choice words, but then I breathe. I read the alphabets backwards, and by the time I get to the middle, I'm like, have a nice day. And the person smiles. I know they were thinking, oh, she's so nice. And I'm saying in my head, I don't want to say because we're on TV. But we can make a difference every day in our lives. I know I do, and I'm happy about that. And so when you say I found the answer, Rosita, what are you talking about?
I found the answer to living, loving, and laughing and having great success.
Mm-hmm. And you said before, your success is not about money. Because sometimes people will say to me, Anna, all these things that you do you get paid for it? No, I don't. But if I have to measure the love that has come back to me, if I have to measure the sacrifices that people have made on my behalf, if I have to measure when I've reached out to people with a dream and how they've responded, I cannot put money on it. And so how, if somebody wants to discover success other than money, how do they go about it? How do you get somebody to, like, you know, don't look at it so much in dollar signs, but how do you encourage somebody to do that?
Well, first of all, I think if you're doing what you love and you're doing it in an honorable way, a respectful way with integrity, the money will come. I mean, I just say that that's not my focus. That's not why I do what I do. I do what I do because I love what I do. I like encouraging people, I like supporting people, I like elevating people. But in terms of the title, when I said I found the answer is a key to living, loving, laughing, and creating great success, for me, the number one way to create any kind of success is to build relationships. Because I think it was Vince Lombardi, one of the greatest NFL coaches of all times, that once said when they asked him what the secret to success was, and he says it's heart power. Because if you capture the heart, you capture the person. So I'm in the business of capturing hearts. And when you capture people's hearts, people will do anything and everything for you. I mean, it's so easy.
Right.
I think we live in a society right now that's technologically driven. And a lot of times we have our heads down because we're on, with our Blackberries and whatever else and our laptops. And so we don't connect anymore. And when you are the person who can connect heart to heart with people, it's amazing. Even now, because, right now, a lot of, in my business, people want to, send me emails and go on Facebook. When I actually pick up the phone and call someone, they go, oh my God, you're the only person left on this planet who picks up the phone to call. And I like it. And I really appreciate it. Like, I really love that you call, that you pick up the phone and you don't send the email back or whatever. And so I really think that the human connection is the number one secret for me. Number two, caring for myself emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, because I have a strong faith. And that's been really good for me. Really staying connected to my family, no matter how busy I am and no matter what I'm doing in my life. My husband and my two boys get precedence. They know that. I will give up anything for my sons and my husband, and they know that, and I keep that at the focus. And then really always taking the time for yourself. And sometimes as women, we can get so caught up in doing for other people because we're all caregivers and we love to give back, and that's part of who we are, our nature to give back. But it's taking that time for ourselves we have to regroup again. We have to refuel ourselves again. And for me, that's been one of the secrets to success. And the other big piece, as I mentioned earlier with my family, we were a family of laughter. Like we're the family that would be rolling off the kitchen chair because we're laughing so hard, or holding your legs because you got to pee so bad or whatever.
Right.
And so laughter's been a big part. And so I even got, you guys are going to love this, I even got certified. I'm a laughter yoga teacher now. So I teach laughter yoga. And so it's really all about laughing, and all you do is laugh hysterically. And it's amazing because we have this built-in pharmacy of laughter. I mean, every single one of us, if you look at small children, children will laugh constantly. They never stop laughing. Constantly laughing. And you'll always see kids doing this. When kids are doing this, the reason why they do that is because you have little acupuncture points here. And so when you clap your hands together like this, you release endorphins. Those are happy pills, right? And so part of laughter yoga is around the clapping exercises and being silly. I think we've become a society that's too serious. And as a result, we see the statistics go up in terms of heart disease and immune system deficiencies and sleep disorders and psychological disorders, because people are not taking the time to just find some joyful laughter. And it doesn't even have to be funny. The whole concept around laughter yoga is teaching people how to laugh for no reason. So we have this built-in pharmacy. We know how to laugh. We know how to giggle. But we always think, well, we got to be serious, though. I shouldn't be giggling. Like, I shouldn't be laughing. That's kind of silly. We need to learn how to get back to the basics again. So for me, that's part of finding the answer, is really being able to escalate some situations that get a little tough by just learning to laugh. I travel a lot, so you're in airports, and sometimes when you run in there and you want to get home so quickly because your son's celebrating a birthday and they go, your flights have been canceled, you better know how to laugh because there's nothing too funny about it, but you say, oh, it's okay, I still got that gift of laughter somewhere in here, and I have to learn to use that. So for me, those have been the components for finding the answer. Just those basic things that I try to put into practice every single day.
That's awesome.
And if you do that, for me personally, when I have been able to do that, I have created the success that I've wanted and always wanted since the time I was a child. I always say that I dreamed my husband into life. I knew when I was this big what my husband was going to look like, how much he was going to weigh. Well, maybe not that much, but how much he was going to weigh. I did. I knew what kind of job he was going to have, everything, and I dreamed it into life.
You dreamed it into life?
I dreamed it into life. I knew exactly the kind of job he was going to have. Everything. I knew exactly.
Oh my goodness. Where do you live? We should all come to your house.
Well, maybe not. but seriously, and that's the joke in my family, because I knew from when I was younger. And how did I get that? Because I saw what I didn't want. So then I knew what it was I did want. And I knew exactly what it was. I knew the exact shirt he was going to be wearing, the tie, everything.
So it's important that we know what we don't want.
Yes, exactly.
So that you can steer away from it and work to, there are 2 elevators in a building that I go to every day, right? and one of them has a mirror in it, and the other one doesn't have the mirror. So every time I stand in front of those two and I press the button, I stand in front of the one with the mirror. Why do I do that? I tell myself when I get there that I want the one with the mirror to open, right? And now that we're talking about to know what we don't want, and I find that 8 out of 10 times, and I get this joy that comes out of me every time that one opens, because I look at myself and I straighten myself, there you go. And then I stand in the elevator and I feel like I am the happiest girl on the face of this earth. You just brought out another thing in me. I told you that it feels like I kept dreaming about something and all of a sudden I'm living the dream. So the other thing you've done for me once again is letting me know that what you ask for, you will get. Because, like you said, you dreamt about it and you actually see it right in front of you. You also talked about laughter. I was just talking to my sister's son this afternoon who turned 28, and he has to stop being silly. I told him, no, you don't want to do that. You want to hold on to being silly, because when life gets difficult, you're going to need that being silly to be able to go through it. So in this time that we're spending together, you've assured me of so many little things that sometimes I say, and sometimes I look at people around me and I feel like they think I'm not serious, but you've just assured me that those little things that I say are a necessity. You will always see whenever I post, blogs, or I always put at the end, be encouraged, be inspired. And only because I want everybody, wherever they are, to know that they can have courage to do whatever they want. I want them to know that they can be an inspiration to somebody, or they should look for an inspiration for themselves. Judy, the work that you're doing, you always call yourself old and this and that, but the beauty, and I think one of the reasons why I like talking to you is because when you talk about you're old, I admire the fact that you're not sitting in a rocking chair talking about old. You know what I mean? That you've tapped into this thing inside of you that you're actually bringing out. You could be sitting at home. You shouldn't be traveling all over the world. Nobody's asking you to. You could be comfortable in your home, watching TV, drinking coffee, inviting me over for lunch.
She already has me cooking. Fabulous.
But I want you to know that you're an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
And the reason you're an inspiration to me is that look at you, at your age, still continuing to make a difference. You know what I mean? Opening your mouth about something that you know about, that you know is detrimental to society. But you're not sitting at home, just being, I'm Judy, this and that. You're making a difference. You are actually one of the reasons why we're sitting here today. Because like I said, you and I sat in a meeting, and you notice that there were about 8 of us in that meeting. And out of the 8th, I picked what you said, that there's somebody looking for somebody to do a talk show.
Right.
And as a result of that, we're here. So many people have come through this show. David and I have a very good working relationship where we're all trying to make things right. So when you think about yourself at the end of the day, know that it's not just the book that you've written. Know that it's not just speaking here and speaking there, but you've made a difference to my life in the sense that because you opened your mouth and spoke, I'm able to now open my mouth and speak. I'm able to meet people such as yourself, such as Rosie, so many other people that have come through here. And so know that every day as you go, as you lie down and you sleep, know that you've made a difference, not only to your daughter, but to so many kids around the world that nobody's listening to.
First of all, thank you very much for saying that. I really appreciate it. You know what, I was thinking recently, what the hell am I doing? And I answered myself. I was a mother. I am a mother. We talk a lot about our kids, right?
Right.
Already this last period of time. My kids are big. Thank God they're doing well. They don't need me, except as a sort of a sideline to yak at when they're having a tough time, or maybe to cook my stuffed cabbage occasionally. But this business is really about my being a mother and my cherishing motherhood. And I think you only have to really get off a plane in Ethiopia and go into one of the cities and look at the streets, and the story is right there in front of you. And I have those memories because I was there. So in a way, it's kind of a continuation of my motherhood.
Beautiful.
I think.
Beautiful. That's awesome. You know,
I'm not changing diapers right now. I'm.
But you're being a mother.
There's not such a big difference in a sense.
Right. And if we could all be mothers to somebody, not, physically being there, spoon feeding them, but, sometimes just standing tall so that a kid can see you, standing positive so that a kid can see. I remember when I was growing up, there was this lady that I admired so much. She was tall and I grew up in Ghana, and we liked women that were voluptuous. She stood tall and she was so classy. And when she came to visit my parents, I always said, I want to be like this woman. Why did I want to be like her? She was making a difference in society. And still today, when I stand in front of school children, because I speak to school children, I speak at women's conferences, when I stand in front, I still remember that woman that when I was a child, I wanted to be like, when she was making a difference. Right. I have to say that I am so happy. I can say that I found the answer. And the answer is that I'm able to make a difference in the lives of people, maybe just by standing there, maybe just by being here, maybe just by coming to your home through this program. I am honored. I am happy. I'm satisfied. I am so grateful to David Grossman of All Talk TV for being so patient with me, for guiding me. And Rosita, what can you leave with our people today about finding one's own courage? Remember, Rosita is a keynote speaker, speaks at conferences, workshops, so many things. The website is rositahall.com. The book is I Found the Answer. And Judy is Cry of the Giraffe. These are two powerful women. So what can you leave with the people out there so that they can go out and find their own courage in their own way?
Be authentic, be kind to yourself, be kind to other people, leave your signature on the hearts of everybody that you come into contact with, and build a legacy. Because a legacy is something that's going to be here when you're gone. And when you spoke, Judy, earlier about your book, One Day That's Going to Fade, the legacy will never fade. What you've done, someone will constantly, I will tell your story forever now because I've connected with you and I heard that story. So, and when I tell that story to someone, someone else is going to then share that. So the ripple effect continues. Right. So it'll never fade in the darkness. I think as women, we're always leaving our impact and our legacy. So somebody will be standing there, and probably on the next platform, I'll be telling part of your story. So someone will be telling that story. And I think that's what it's about, is us elevating and lifting each other up.
And lifting each other. So thank you so much for joining us on the Anna Aidoo Show. This has been Finding One's Own Courage. We need your support financially to help us grow this show, to bring it so that it can reach further than just where we are. You can contact me on Facebook, it's Anna Aidoo, or you can contact All Talk TV as we work hard at All Talk TV to bring you good shows, shows that inspire, shows that uplift, shows that give us the courage that we all need. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sign off by saying, be encouraged, be inspired. Thank you very much, and see you next time. That was very good.